1st, 2016. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to CATEX TV. If you're involved in the international insurance and reinsurance industry, you already know this, but they are experiencing power problems at the Lloyd's of London building at 1 Lime Street. They're experiencing issues with the power supply affecting the West Tower 5 side of the building. Lloyd's remains open for business. The underwriting room is open, although any boxes situated in the western side of the building do not have electricity. Lloyd's is working on this as a matter of urgency right now. Elevators are not working in the western part of the building, however, the escalators are working. It's apparently a bit of a chaotic scene there right now. There was a massive explosion at an oil facility owned by PEMEX in southeastern Mexico last night that killed at least 13 people and injured 136. This occurred in the Gulf state of Veracruz. A huge plume of toxic gray smoke could be seen spewing from the plant known as Pajaritos. The blast was felt as far as 6 miles away. It forced the evacuation of numerous schools and businesses. Residents have been advised to remain inside until the cloud of chemicals dissipates. Of course, there's a huge oil rig loss sustained by PEMEX that's floating through Lloyd's right now, which is going to be the biggest marine-related loss since the Costa Concordia. Speaking of losses pertaining to the Japanese earthquakes now, the 2 big modeling firms, RMS and AIR Worldwide, have released their first estimate of losses for insured losses from last week's Kyushu earthquakes, putting them between $1.7 billion and about $3.5 billion in total. This is an estimate combined by both firms. Interestingly enough, the estimates only include property losses to residential, commercial, industrial, and mutual property. They do not include BI claims. Now, we know that the BI claims, or business interruption claims, are going to be substantial. A number of Japanese companies, including Sony, Toyota, and Fujifilm and Honda, have already announced product suspensions because of weaknesses in their facilities as a result of the quakes. Insurers in England will be facing paying business interruption losses from the destruction of a Sony warehouse during the August 2011 riots in London. The UK Supreme Court overturned a lower court ruling. 5 judges considered whether insurers can receive consequential losses under the Riot Damages Act of 1886, a law passed during the reign of Queen Victoria. That law makes the police liable for all riot-related damage on the ground that it is the responsibility of the police to maintain order. However, the Supreme Court said that the Victorian-era Act was only intended to cover physical damage to property. There is nothing, the judges said, in the wording of the law that supports an extension to extend the scope of the compensation to cover consequential loss. The losses stemming from the damage at the warehouse totaled about £50 million. The insurers, including Mitsui Sumitomo and Tokyo Marine Europe, must now pay about $18 million US of consequential business interruption losses stemming from the incident. There was a large boat that sank in the Mediterranean earlier today between Libya and Italy. It may have been carrying as many as 500 refugees who are all now presumed to be drowned. It may be the worst catastrophe suffered by refugees and migrants in the past year. They've only been able to find 41 survivors, and they're confirming that 500 may be lost. The heat wave in India is now reaching nearly catastrophic proportions. Temperatures in many parts of the country are well above average. Some places reporting increases on average of more than 5 degrees centigrade than what's expected this time of the year. Already about 100 people have died. The only guaranteed relief in sight is the beginning of the monsoon season, which is not usually beginning until the start of June. If temperatures remain above average at this level between now and the beginning of June, this is going to turn into a major humanitarian crisis. Last year, 2,500 people died in a heat wave that gripped India in May. That was the country's second deadliest heat wave, and if this heat wave continues as predicted, it's going to easily surpass that. The number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits unexpectedly fell last week, hitting the lowest level since 1973. This is information that came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time today. Initial claims for state unemployment benefits declined 6,000 to a seasonally adjusted 247,000 for the week, the lowest reading since November of 1973. So the labor market in the U.S. is strengthening despite signs that economic growth has braked sharply. Meanwhile, everybody is looking for some signs of inflation. If inflation begins to increase, the Federal Reserve is standing at the ready to begin to increase interest rates, which would be very good news for business. It might not be so good if you're trying to buy a house or a car, but it would be very good news for investments in business. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.